Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is lesson 4 of Python learning series where we are going to learn about the control structures in Python. What is the meaning of control structure is? It is nothing but a program statement which transfers the control from one part of the program to another part of the program. Usually the program's control flow will be line by line or sequential. But if you want to change the flow of control, we will make use of control statements. So basically there are three types of branching statements in Python. First one is a simple if statement. Second one is if else statement. And the third one is if else if statement. The else if is called in short as elif in Python. And this if, else and elif are reserved keywords in Python programming language. So next we will see about the general syntax of our if, elif, else statement in Python. As you can see, you have the if keyword followed by condition. And if the condition is true, the statements inside block 1 is going to be executed. Otherwise, you have the elif keyword followed by condition 2. So the condition is checked, and if condition 2 is true, then the statements inside block 2 is going to get executed. This elif, there can be multiple elif statements inside an if, elif, else block. And this is followed by else keyword, which is followed by a particular block of code. So every if, elif statement is followed by a condition. If the condition evaluates as true, then the code in that block gets executed. Once the code in any of the block is executed, the control flow moves out of the entire if, elif, else block. If none of the if, elif conditions are true, then the else block code is going to get executed. And some things which you have to remember is no parenthesis is needed in Python after the if, elif and else keyword. In addition, Python does not make use of curly brackets to define the start and the end of the if statement. But Python uses indentation, there is a white spaces, to define a block of code that will be executed if the condition evaluates to true. The next is you also have this inline if statement, also called as Python ternary operator. So this inline if statement is very useful. Say you only have a very simple task to perform. Generally, you have the if statement followed by the condition. So if the condition evaluates to true inside the if statement, you have only a simple task to perform. Then you can make use of this inline if statement or the Python ternary operator. The syntax of this Python ternary operator is task A, if keyword followed by condition, and then the else keyword followed by another condition. That is, perform task A if the condition, if condition is true. So if condition is false, then perform task B. So we will see about that with an example. So first we'll see about an example of simple if statement. In Python, a simple if statement is written by using the if keyword. So I'll just declare a variable here called as A, and then I'll declare another variable called as B, and then I'll say if B less than A. As I told, this colon symbol is used to define a block of code in Python. That is, always remember to put the colon symbol next to the test condition in your if statement. In languages like C or C++, curly brackets defines the scope of the code, but Python makes use of indentation to define the scope of the code. So here I indent to indicate the statements for the block of code inside the if statement. So here I have only one statement inside the if block, that is my print statement, wherein I say print B is lesser than A. So here Python makes use of indentation to define the scope in the code. Indentation is nothing but the white space which you have used at the beginning of the line. The statements inside a block must be given proper indentation. So if there is a lack of indentation, Python will raise an error. So now I press the enter key, and you can see the output of this code wherein I have used a simple if statement. It prints B is lesser than A. Since the value of B is lesser than A, it has given me this output. So this is an example of simple if statement. Next, we'll see an example of if elif statement. So I will get two numbers as input from the user and store it in two variables called x and y. And if the value of x is less than y, it will print x is less than y. If x is equal to y, it will print x is equal to y. So let's see that. So I'm going to get two numbers as input from the user. So I say x is equal to int of input enter a number for x. And then I get another number as input for y. And then I say if x is less than y, so remember to put the colon symbol next to the if statement, and then I define the statements for the if statement with the print. I just say it will print if x is less than y, it will print x less than y. Else if x is equal to y, it will print x is equal to y. So here we have made use of an if-elif statement. So you can see the output of the program here as soon as I press the enter key. So I have got the values of x and y as input from the user. So the value of x is 3 and the value of y is 45. So it prints x is less than y. So this is an example of if-elif statement. Next, we'll see an example of if-else statement. So here to check, we will write a set of program code to check if an input number is odd or even. So before that, here in this program code, we have made use of the input function to get the input from the user. Whatever input is entered by the user, it will be converted into string format. Even if you enter a number, it will be represented in string format by the input function. So, but we want to convert it into integer. That's why we have made use of the int function here. So next we will see the if-else statement example. So in the same way, I get one number as input from the user. So I get one number x as input from the user, and then I want to check if it is odd or even. Now the input which has been got from the user is 35. I want to check whether it is odd or even. So I make use of the modulus operator here. Next I have the else followed by the print statement. So here it prints 35 is odd. So I have made use of the modulus operator here, which divides the number by 2 and gets the remainder. So if the remainder of dividing the value of x by 2 is equal to 0, then it means the number is a even number. So it prints x is even. Otherwise, it prints x is odd. So since 35 is the input here, it prints the 35 is an odd number. So the remainder of dividing 35 by 2 is not equal to 0, so it prints 35 is odd. So this is an example of an if-else statement. So from this you can understand that if can be combined with the else if, and it can occur and it can be used without an else. If and else can be used without an else if in Python. Next, we will see an example of if, elif, else together. So we'll have all this if, elif, else keywords together in a program script. For this, we will make use of Python idle. So here I'm opening a new file. So here I'm going to get 5 marks as input from the user. I'm going to calculate the average of those marks. And if the average of those marks is greater than 80 or equal to 80, then it's going to print grade A. If it is in between 70 to 79, it's going to print grade B. If it's in between 60 to 69, it's going to print grade C. If it is in between 50 to 59, it's going to print grade D. Otherwise, it's going to print grade E. So first, I will get the input from the user for the marks by using the int and the input function. So I get the first marks from the user. Now I find the average of all those 5 marks. I just add up all those marks and then I divide it by 5 since it is for 5 subjects. And then I say if average is greater than 80, greater than or equal to 80, it's going to print grade A. So we have the code in here where it's going to print grades A, B, C, D, and E as per the logic of the program. Now we will run the code by clicking on run module, saving the code. Save your program with the .py extension. So you can see it is printing the grade now. So only one else block can be used for an if statement. In an if statement, there is no limit on the number of elif clauses that can be used. But an else clause, if used, it should be placed only at the end. And Python doesn't have switch case statements like we have in other languages. We need to use the if else conditions to implement the switch case control flow in the Python scripts. The last is we'll see about the inline if statement, that is a Python ternary operator with an example. Create a new variable called x and assign its value as 15. And then I say number is equal to 100 if the value of x is equal to 15, else number has to be assigned the value 101. So I just say number is equal to 100. If the value of x is equal to 15 is true, then number will be assigned the value 100. Else number will be assigned the value 101. And then I just use a print statement to print the value of number. So as per the logic, the value of x is 15. So number has to be assigned the value 100 and the value of number should be 100. Now we try to save and run the code. You can see that the value of number is being printed as 100. That is all with the different types of branching statements in Python language.